Tony Beets, the king of the Klondike. He's a legend who went from a Dutch farm to a multi-million-dollar gold empire. A modern-day Viking who commands an army of giant machines and tames the unforgiving Yukon. He's built a fortune most people can only dream of, a kingdom paved with the glittering rewards of his own ambition. As of 2025, that fortune is estimated to be a staggering $15 to $20 million. But for the very people he built it for, his family, this monumental legacy has brought them to tears. The question is, are they tears of joy or tears of sorrow? This isn't just a story about gold. It's a story about grit, pressure, and the immense weight of an inheritance measured not just in dollars, but in blood, sweat, and the shadow of a legend. Before he was the king of the Klondike, Tony Beets was a farm boy from Wasnt, a small village in the Netherlands. Life wasn't about gold, it was about dirt, livestock, and the tough, unending rhythm of farm life. Born in 1959, his world was all about practical, hard work, a trait that would define his entire life. Even as a kid, he wasn't just helping out. He was running big parts of his family's dairy farm. By the time he was a teen, he was already handling responsibilities that would crush most adults. This upbringing gave him a brutal work ethic and the clear understanding that you don't get handed success, you earn it. But the farm, while a great training ground, was also a cage. Tony saw the ceiling on his future in the Netherlands, and he was already dreaming bigger. That ambition found its match in Minnie, the girl next door. They'd known each other since they were kids, after 6-year-old Minnie's family moved in next to 7-year-old Tony's. They started dating when she was 20, and a few years later, they were married, starting a partnership that would become the bedrock of their empire. Together, they made the huge decision to leave everything they knew behind. In 1980, chasing a dream of a better life, Tony and Minnie immigrated to Canada. They didn't show up with a master plan or deep pockets. In fact, after paying for the move, they were left with just a few $100s to their name. Their new life started near Salmon Arm, British Columbia, where Tony went back to his roots, working on a dairy farm. For 3 years, he also hustled in the construction business, taking any job he could find to build a foundation in their new country. But the call of the North and whispers of big money was getting louder. He heard about the high wages paid to miners in the Yukon, a remote, wild territory that promised riches to anyone tough enough to take them. That idea lit a fire in him. This wasn't just about a better paycheck. It was about adventure, risk, and the chance to build something that was truly his. In 1984, he made the call. Tony moved his family to the heart of the gold rush, Dawson City, Yukon. This was a world away from the green fields of the Netherlands. Dawson was a frontier town, soaked in the history of gold seekers, a place where fortunes were made and lost, in a single season. He didn't start as a king. He started as a machine operator, just another guy trying to make a living. But unlike so many who came and went, broken by the harsh land, Tony was different. He had the grit from the farm, the steady support of Minnie, and a belief in himself that never wavered. The Yukon didn't break him. It was the place that would make him a legend. Tony's jump to full-time mining wasn't some overnight success. The first few years in the Yukon were lean, a constant fight for survival. It was a grind of trial and error, learning the land and pouring every single dollar they earned right back into the dream. He wasn't just working for others, he was watching, learning, and planning. In 1986, he made a key move and founded his own mining company, Tamarack Inc. He started leasing land on Paradise Hill, a claim that would become the heart of his operation for decades. His philosophy was simple: go big or go home. While other miners settled for smaller operations, Tony was always hunting for the next big thing, the massive machine that could move mountains of dirt and find incredible amounts of gold. This led him to his most legendary investment, a move that would make him look like a madman to some and a genius to others. he decided to bring the Klondike's abandoned industrial dredges, colossal, floating factories, back from the dead. Season 5 of Gold Rush. The world watched as Tony made $1 million gamble on a 75-year-old dredge in Clear Creek. To many, it looked like a total waste of money. The Viking dredge, as it was called, was a rust bucket that hadn't run in 30 years. Taking it apart, moving it, and putting it back together was a logistical nightmare that pushed his family and crew to the breaking point. It was a bet. That could have easily bankrupted him. But Tony saw potential where everyone else saw rust. He knew these old giants, if revived, could process earth on a scale modern equipment couldn't touch. Bringing that dredge back to life became a huge part of the Tony Beets story. It was proof of his stubbornness, his mechanical skill, and his absolute refusal to fail. And it paid off. The dredge roared back to life, becoming a gold-guzzling machine and a symbol of Tony's vision. But he didn't stop there. He bought more. Claims, including rich ground on the Indian River and Scribner Creek, building a portfolio of some of the best mining territory in the Yukon. And the numbers don't lie. Season after season, the Beets crew hauled in staggering amounts of gold. In Season 8, they pulled in 3,659 ounces, worth over $4.3 million at the time. The next season, it was nearly 4,400 ounces. In Season 10, even after moving his whole operation, he still found over 2,200 ounces. With gold prices skyrocketing over the years, his hauls became more and more valuable. This success, combined with his estimated $300,000 to $400,000 salary from the Discovery Channel show, secured his spot as one of the richest miners in the game. His net worth climbed to an estimated $15 to $20 million by 2025, but the empire wasn't just built on machines and money. It was built on people, especially his family. Tony became known for hiring local kids, giving them a shot in a tough industry. While many couldn't handle the hard work and his even harder personality, the ones who stayed became key parts of his team. But at the center of it all were his wife and children. They weren't just his employees, they were the engine. This family-run business was his greatest strength, and, as time would tell, the source of his empire's biggest conflicts. At the heart of Tony Beets' empire is a complicated and often explosive family dynamic. It's a structure forged in the Yukon, where relationships are constantly tested by money, machinery, and the massive personality of the man in charge. The Beets family business isn't a democracy, it's a monarchy, and Tony is the king. His word is law, and his expectations are through the roof. Working for him is an all-consuming lifestyle known as the Beets Boot Camp. The power behind the throne is, without a doubt, Minnie Beets. While Tony is the face of the operation, yelling in the sandbox, Minnie is the quiet force who runs the books and keeps the whole thing from falling apart. They've known each other for 60 years and been married for over 44. Their partnership works because they have their own domains. As Tony says, she does the money and I do the sandbox. Minnie is the accountant and the anchor. She's often the voice of reason, maybe the only person who can stand up to Tony and tell him a hard truth. Without Minnie's steady hand, the Beets empire wouldn't be nearly as stable. Then there are the kids, who have grown up in their father's giant shadow. Each one has a role in the business, and each one has the scars to prove it. Kevin Beets, the oldest son, has long been groomed to take over. He started mining with his dad at 13 and has grown into a skilled and knowledgeable miner. But his relationship with Tony is a constant source of drama. Their on-screen fights are legendary, with Tony constantly second-guessing Kevin's decisions, and Kevin getting visibly fed up with his dad's abrasive style. It's that classic struggle between a father who built it all from nothing and a son who's desperate to prove his own worth. This friction eventually led to Kevin breaking away, to run his own operation, leasing ground from Tony, to prove he could make it on his own. It's a move Tony surprisingly supported, maybe realizing that for Kevin to truly get it, he needed to feel the pressure for himself. Monica Beets is the tough-as-nails daughter in a man's world, She's not one to sit on the sidelines. Monica has proven she's a sharp operator and a capable crew boss, often running one of the family's main wash plants. But she's also had her share of blow-ups with her dad. Her modern, forward-thinking approach often clashes with Tony's old-school ways. Monica represents a new generation of mining, and that naturally creates conflict with a father who is set in his ways. She's driven by a need to prove she's not just Tony Beets' daughter, but a respected miner in her own right. Mike Beets, often the quietest of the siblings on camera, has become one of the most essential leaders. He might not want the spotlight, but his skill with heavy equipment and his reliability are undeniable. In recent seasons, Tony has trusted him with huge responsibility, making him the boss of the entire Paradise Hill claim. Like his siblings, Mike works under his father's immense pressure, but he seems to navigate it with a quieter confidence, letting his work speak for itself. There is also a fourth child, Bianca, who chose a life outside of gold mining and away from the cameras. Her absence shows an important side of, and many have always said their kids' happiness comes first, whether that's in a gold field or somewhere else. This family dynamic is the real drama of the Beets story. It's a constant battle between generations, a fight for independence, under a powerful father, and the challenge of keeping business and family separate when millions of dollars are on the line, a $20 million fortune, a fleet of giant machines, and the title King of the Klondike sounds like a dream come true. But for the Beets children, it's a double-edged sword. The massive empire their father built isn't just a gift, it's a burden so heavy it often brings them to tears. And these tears come from a powerful mix of emotions that come from living and working inside a legend. First, there are the tears of frustration. Imagine having one of the most successful and stubborn miners in the world as your boss, who also happens to be your dad. The arguments on Gold Rush aren't just for TV, they're real. Kevin, Monica, and Mike are constantly held to Tony's impossible standards and subjected to his profanity-laced critiques. Every mistake is magnified. There's the nagging feeling of never being good enough, of always falling short of the bar their father set. That pressure to perform leads to moments of pure frustration, where tears are the only way out. Then there are the tears of responsibility. Their inheritance isn't a pile of cash. It's a massive, high-risk industrial operation. They're inheriting the machine itself, with millions of dollars in equipment that always needs fixing, multiple mining claims that need a strategy, and the jobs of an entire crew that depend on them. The financial stakes are terrifying. One bad decision or a major breakdown could put everything at risk. Just moving a wash plant can cost over $100,000, a gamble that can either pay off big or fail spectacularly. The responsibility is crushing, and the fear of being the generation that lets it all fall apart is a heavy, emotional weight. This leads straight to tears of fear. What if they can't do it? What if they can't fill Tony's enormous boots? The family's entire identity is tied to mining success. To fail would be a public humiliation, watched by millions. It would mean failing their parents and their family name. That fear of not living up to the legend, of dropping the torch he's passing to them, creates a constant anxiety that hangs over their lives. But it's not all bad. There are also tears of pride. These moments might be the most powerful of all. They come after a record gold weigh, or after fixing a key machine under pressure, or during a rare, quiet moment when Tony gives a gruff, sincere compliment. In those moments, the frustration and fear disappear, replaced by the deep pride of what they've accomplished together. They see the results of their shared hard work. These are tears that recognize the struggle but celebrate the win, a validation of all the sweat and sacrifice. Finally, all of this is wrapped up in the big, unspoken question of what happens next. Tony Beets says he'll only retire when he leaves in a box, but nobody works forever. As he gets older, the question of who will really take over hangs in the air. Can they work together without his commanding presence? This uncertainty about the future is the emotional heart of their story. The fortune has made them cry because it represents their past, their present, and their uncertain future, all at once, from the farmlands of the Netherlands to the gold creeks of the Yukon. The story of Tony Beets is legendary. He's the embodiment of the frontier spirit, a man who built a mining empire worth up to $20 million through pure grit. He tamed giant steel dredges, earned the title King of the Klondike, and created a fortune designed to last for generations. And yet that very success has created a powerful paradox. The fortune built to secure his family's future has become their biggest emotional burden. The weight of his legacy is a heavy crown for his children to wear. They've been shaped by the Beets boot camp, fighting for their own identities in the long shadow of their father. His fortune has brought tears of frustration, tears of fear, and powerful tears of pride. It's a kingdom that demands as much as it gives. The future of the Beets dynasty now rests on their shoulders. Tony has laid the groundwork and given them decades of hard-won knowledge. But the real test is still to come. Can they navigate their own complicated relationships to work as a team? Can they carry the weight of the crown without being crushed by it? The story of the Beets family is about more than gold. It's a universal story about family, legacy, and the true price of ambition. Tony Beets built an empire of gold, but his real inheritance is a landscape of pressure, pride, and the question of what comes next. What do you think? Are Tony's kids up to the task of carrying on his legacy? Let us know in the comments below. And for more stories about the legends of the Goldfields, make sure you like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you never miss an update.